Hello everybody and welcome to the Honor and Knowledge channel. Just like you, I've been getting inundated with all kinds of communications from the Democrats and from the mainstream media about how the Republicans are going to be destroying Medicaid. So here we see the Sun Sentinel from Monday, March 10th, showing the first page headline, Florida seniors have a lot to lose. In the first column, right underneath the headline, where the oval is now, you see it says Medicaid cuts could devastate states' elderly in nursing homes. The House Minority Leader, Jeffries, said stuff very similar.
People are rising up to push back against the assault on Medicaid.
So back to the newspaper headline. Look over on the right-hand column on the front page. It says in the oval, while the depth and scope of potential Medicaid cuts are unknown, House Republicans can't meet their target of 880. And then you go to page 8, it says, I'll read it to you, can't meet its target of $880 billion in savings to pass President Donald Trump's legislative agenda without making significant cuts to programs like Medicaid. So here's the actual document that the Democrats are worried about. It's the House Concurrent Resolution number 14. It's actually a budget resolution that's needed to be done before you can do the reconciliation that's going on right now. The budget resolution doesn't even go to the president's desk. It's basically an internal document that just supports the reconciliation process. But this is the budget resolution that actually gives all the different House committees directions on what to do to prepare the budget for the next many years. So here is a listing of some of the House committees with the amount of money that they're supposed to be saving over the next 10 years. So here's the fourth committee. It's the Committee on Energy and Commerce. The reading is, the Committee on Energy and Commerce shall submit changes in laws within its jurisdiction to reduce the deficit by not less than $880 billion for the period of fiscal years 2025 through 2034. Notice it doesn't say anything about Medicaid or Medicare or Social Security. This committee covers a large amount of territory and it has some pretty huge budgets for it to review. This reminds me of the famous Abraham Lincoln quotation. You can fool all the people some of the time and some of the people all the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. Also reminds me of another famous quote from Abraham Lincoln. You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today. We've got a huge budget problem. So back to the Democrats. You know, they really don't have a big leader. However, Jeffries in Congress appears to have been somebody that they were hoping could lead them. But he is just continuing the old playbook of the Democrats of fear-mongering and lying, being very deceitful. He's trying to make us scared. But he's not the only one that's trying to make Americans afraid of what is going on now.
In all of this, and the Democrats are hammering it.
Here's Jessica Tarloff.
Is that in the bill that the Republicans are putting forward, there will be $880 billion cut to Medicaid. $880 billion.
And Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Is a devastating cut to Medicaid, and given that 30% of Medicaid dollars also go to Medicare, it's also an attack on Medicare.
None of that stuff is going to be touched.
Nothing.
I want to have to.
Welcome back. If you're listening carefully, you just heard President Trump say Medicaid is not going to be touched.
And yet Major Garrett will still say it's going to be.
However, the House Republicans have a plan which the president has endorsed that would cut some $880 billion from Medicaid over the next 10 years.
So let's listen to President Trump saying that again, this time at a cabinet meeting.
Right.
Can you guarantee that Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security will not be touched?
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that question. Okay? This will not be read my lips. It won't be read my lips anymore. We're not going to touch it. Now, we are going to look for fraud. I'm sure you're okay with that, like people that shouldn't be on, people that are illegal aliens and others, criminals in many cases. And that's with Social Security. We have a lot of people. You see that immediately when you see people that are 200 years old that are being sent checks for Social Security. Some of them are actually being sent checks. So we're tracing that down, and I have a feeling that Pam is going to do a very good job with that. But you have a lot of fraud. But no, I'm not. We're not doing anything on this.
And here's Speaker Michael Johnson.
We're going to cut the fraud, waste, and abuse out of Medicaid, and that's where we're going to get part of the savings to accomplish this mission.
But are people who are covered by Medicaid now going to potentially lose Medicaid coverage as a result of this?
This is Caitlin Collins.
No, look, the White House has made a commitment. The president said over and over and over, we're not going to touch Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. We've made the same commitment. Now, that said, what we are going to do is go into those programs and carve out the fraud, waste, and abuse and find efficiencies. Couple of examples. There's about $50 billion estimated that are lost every year in Medicaid just in fraud alone. No one's for that. We've got to make sure we eliminate it. We have the algorithms now to do that. We have advanced technology to find it. We need to provide identification for people who are Medicaid recipients to make sure they are not illegal aliens. That's another big carve-out that we will make to save a lot of money. There are a lot of places to find efficiencies in these programs and ensure they're going to the people they're intended to help.
Yeah.
If we don't do that, these programs aren't going to remain solvent, and so that's a big part of the equation here.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because you talk about waste, fraud, and abuse that you're going to look at instead of making cuts otherwhere. But last year, between Medicaid and Medicare combined, there was about $100 billion in improper payments. Now, no one is excusing that or fraud or any waste and abuse, but you're looking for much larger than that. So where is the other $780 billion going to come from?
Ways and Means Committee Chairman Representative Jason Smith, Republican from Missouri, told Maria Bartiromo on Mornings with Maria on Monday that requiring states to repeat verification for people on Medicaid would save the United States almost $200 billion. Quote, I'm not going to touch Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Now we're going to get fraud out of there, President Donald Trump told Bartiromo in an exclusive interview on Sunday Morning Futures. While the Trump administration maintains their commitment to eliminating fraud and government inefficiency from social programs, Smith confirmed on Monday they will not cut Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. But Smith said the government can go line by line through each program to find serious savings. Just requiring states to do repeat verification for people who are on Medicaid would save almost $200 billion. That's not cutting anyone off. That's just making sure that people that should be on the program are on the program. Eliminating the ridiculous nursing home mandate that the unions pushed through in the Biden administration would also save $25 billion. There's a lot of easy savings that Congress must do.
Well, look, we're talking about cuts that are in the range of $2 trillion, but you're also talking about the whole of the federal government. We're going to involve 11 different committees of jurisdiction in this process. So all this attention is being paid to Medicaid because that's the Democrats' talking point. We're talking about a massive piece of legislation that looks at all of the fraud, waste, and abuse across the government and looks at programs that we do need to eliminate that isn't talking about health care for people that are relying upon that. Look, everybody needs to watch the process play out. We passed the budget resolution last night. It is merely a framework to set up what will come the reconciliation process. It's going to take us 5 or 6 weeks probably to dig through all those details and come up with the final proposal. So everybody just reserve judgment, watch us work, and you'll like the final product. I'm very excited about the moment that we're at.
You say Democrats are lying when they say you're going to cut Medicaid. The plan that you passed does instruct the House Energy and Commerce Committee to find $880 billion in cuts, right?
That's right. That's one of the
and
committees.
So how did they get
Caitlin,
$880 billion in cuts from that committee without touching Medicaid?
Because ENC actually has the broadest jurisdiction of any committee in Congress. It covers everything, energy and commerce. The name indicates how broad the jurisdiction is. I challenge you or anybody on your staff, do a word search for Medicaid on the resolution that we passed last night. You will not find it. That is not part of this equation, okay? We're talking about finding efficiencies in every program, but not cutting benefits for people who rightly deserve that. Work requirements for Medicaid. That is something that is public opinion polls almost 90%. You don't want able-bodied workers on a program that is intended for example, for single mothers with 2 small children who's just trying to make it. That's what Medicaid is for, not for 29-year-old males sitting on their couches playing video games. We're going to find those guys and we're going to send them back to work. That's what everybody supports. That's what the Republicans are for. And by the way, we find dignity in our work. That's going to be good for everybody.
And I want to follow up on that, but on that Energy and Commerce Committee, the vast majority of funds that they have are Medicare and Medicaid. So when you talk about $880 billion,
that's simply not true.
So where are you cutting from within that committee?
Energy and Commerce's jurisdiction would take us 20 pages to go through, Caitlin. They've got
I'm
almost
talking about the
everything
biggest
in the U.S.
pools.
economy. There are large pools in the healthcare components, but we're not going to cut benefits for people who are rightfully deserve it. And watch this play out. Just reserve your judgment. The White House has said that we're not going to do that. The House Republicans have said we're not going to do that. And Senator Kennedy said, hell no. Okay, so you heard it from the Senate, the House, and the White House. So
will you reduce the federal match or try to establish a cap on federal funding as you sort through this for Medicaid?
No, I just explained. Per capita caps is off the table. The FMAPs, we're not going to cut into those programs that way.
So no matter how much fear-mongering there's going to be with the Democrats or by the mainstream media, the Republicans are not going to cut Medicaid, Medicare, or Social Security. Thank you for watching the Honor and Knowledge channel. And if you feel like it, I'd greatly appreciate you subscribing and giving thumbs up and all the other stuff to help me out. Have a great day.